do I feel like I linger between the words to say the words to remember. After finally completing that Shibukawa video, I can finally go back to a normal uploading schedule, and the first video I wanted to pop out was a Bleach video. As Toshiro and Byakuya, the only two characters I've covered on the channel without addressing their thousand-year blood war exploits and powers and whatever, they're probably feeling a bit neglected about now. So, with the 5th anniversary of Bleach Brave Souls just having dropped a little while ago, and with the announcement of more Stern Raiders coming out for the Thousand Year Blood War banners, I have decided to come back to them, seeing as the release of the Thousand Year Blood War characters on Bleach Brave Souls is basically my map of which characters I will address and when. Pretty much doing it in the order that they come out, with, whatever characters in that banner, just picking one or another. But yeah, it was either this, the video on Altria Pendragon I plan to do, the Kaneda vs. Kaku video I had on the back burner for a while now, or a new what-if concept I've been thinking about doing where I talk about how well a character might do in a different universe, like, say, how well Hector Doyle would do in an Assassin's Creed game, or how well First Hassan would do in an Assassin's Creed game, being that both of them are assassins themselves and all. Or something to that effect, If I end up doing this what-if thing, it would probably be an every other week project if I did it consistently, just because I'd have to find a character and a game that match, go over the whole game, actually form an opinion on how they would progress and if they would win or lose at the main campaign of the game. And in what way, of course, if they win through the conventional means, like how a player would go through the game, or if they do something completely off the handles yet come to a similar result as to what we see in the end of the game. Or hell, if they do something completely off-handle and find a new ending to the game. At which point I'd have to write a script, actually make the video, and then edit it and put it out on YouTube. And that's already on top of making other videos and real-life obligations outside of YouTube. Anyway, I don't want to spend over an hour talking about future projects, because it's time to talk about Toshiro, Hitsugaya's older brother. If you get the joke, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Look it up or something. So, as I mentioned, I'm basically releasing these overviews in the order of Bleach Brave Souls' Thousand Year Blood War releases, so this video is going to be pretty much only covering adult Toshiro. And let's be real, that's pretty much the only one anyone actually cares about, right? If you care about any version of Toshiro other than adult Toshiro, please don't attack me in the comment section. Anyway, well, to be blunt, as cool as adult Toshiro is, there really isn't much to him. I mean, we literally see him for one fight and he's done. So I'll run this by the numbers. Starting off with what exactly adult Toshiro is, well, he's the completed form of his Bankai. He's basically a matured version of Daigyorin Hyorin Maru, the Bankai we've seen him use throughout the entire series. Basically we, or maybe just my dumbass, have been under the impression that once all the purple petals of Daigyorin Maru fall away, his Bankai ends. Those little purple crystals that, dissolve as his Bankai, is out for longer. I've always been under the impression that if those go away, and I think it's been implied at the very least, that when those fall away, his Bankai will end. That's not actually the case. As part of a contrived yet nonetheless badass plot point, Toshiro has kept hidden what happens beyond the final petal's fall because he actually doesn't like his adult body, basically what he ends up looking like when he unlocks this true power. However, to put it plainly, we're looking at the age-old "this isn't even my final form" cliché. Daigyorin Hyorin Maru doesn't end with the disappearance of the petals, it reaches its full power. The petals aren't indicative of how long you have left to defeat your enemy. They are indicative of how much longer your enemy has a chance against you. Now, to compensate for this awesome power, his body actually forcefully ages itself, as his constitution as a young boy of only 50 years old can't take the increased power. He may not like the form, but I'm sure the fangirls would disagree. In any case, as you'd expect from what is essentially the peak of ice manipulation in Bleach, possibly barring Rukia's Bankai, that's a pretty good frontrunner for best ice powers in Bleach as well. He mainly has ice manipulation feats in this form. That's pretty much all we see from him, while he has this form. I mean, it makes sense considering it appeared for one fight, and it was probably the main takeaway that Kubo would have you get. That, he's good at doing ice stuff. But basically in this form, in terms of power, Toshiro actually scales above Gerard, in his normal form, Gerard Valkyrie. Byakuya, after he's, gone through his Royal Guard training. And even Shikai Kenpachi after he unlocks Nozarashi. We see Shikai Kenpachi actually try to slice through Hafnung, which is the name of Gerard's sword, but he was only able to chip it after this massive assault, whereas Toshiro was able to slice clean through it in one hit. And as far as his other scaling, I mean, he probably scales above Volstanding Gerard and possibly Bankai Kenpachi by at least a little bit, or at the very least he matches them. And by the way, Volstanding, for those of you who don't know, is basically like a Quincy's version of a Bankai. But, he should scale above Bankai Kenpachi and Volstanding Gerard, as he was able to take being crushed by this supersized Enrico Pucci knockoff with what looks to be only, relative discomfort, maybe even just the shock of the fact that Gerard just broke out of his ice. But, yeah, I mean, the dude's, squeezing him and, he's more or less fine. So he should at least scale to them, being able to do big damage to weaker versions of them, or more damage. Being able to take hits from, Gerard and Bankai Kenny, who should be comparable. And even in terms of speed, he should scale, as he's able to react to Volstanding Gerard several times, in several different ways. Now for the nitty-gritty. The ice. With a simple wave of the hand, he can just freeze a whole fucking city. Just a casual wave, and half of Manhattan can give first-hand accounts of what the Ice Age was like. Now you're probably asking yourself, if just waving his hand is that cold, what would it be like to get near him, or God forbid touch him or his Zanpakuto? Well, it's really simple. Anything he touches, or anything that touches him or his sword, is completely frozen. I'm talking SpongeBob and Patrick when they got stuck in Sandy's dome during hibernation season frozen. That's the level of ice we're talking about here. More ice than what Lil Wayne's got in his watch. Even Gerard's Bay ass isn't exempt. He touches Toshiro to crush him, as I mentioned earlier, and yeah, for whatever reason, he thinks that's a smart idea. His stupid ass didn't just see Toshiro flash freeze half the damn battlefield by giving a prom queen wave. His whole Godzilla-ass body gets completely frozen. Now, the range and effectiveness is great and all, but it'd be a bit of a shite reveal if all we'd get is Toshiro can freeze a lot more stuff and he can freeze it real good. That's kind of a crappy Final Form Bankai. So, we find out that adult Toshiro actually has one more trick up his sleeve. He's got a new move, and technically, he has a new ability that he gains from his full power Bankai that applies to all of his ice. So no matter how he freezes you, no matter what move, all of his ice has a new ability. And it is broken. And just to clarify, the new move is great, but, as I'm trying to imply here, the strongest fact of his true Bankai is the new effect that applies to all of his ice. The same ice that can completely freeze a couple of states in a single gesture. Yeah. I'll cover the new effect last, as it really puts into perspective just how broken Toshiro is at this point. But as for the move, it is definitely his best technique, and the second best thing about his Bankai. It's called Shikai Hyoketsu, which basically has him charge an attack for 4 seconds to flash freeze all matter in front of him. All matter. There is literally maybe less than 10 people in Bleach that could survive and escape that alone, much less this attack combined with the effect that extends to all of his ice, including this move. I mean, the name says it all. It says, in Japanese, Shikai Hyoketsu, but in English, it's something like 4 elements freeze, or it literally freezes fire, water, wind, and air. This man don't walk out here hard countering the Avatar after 4 seconds. I mean, it's pretty crazy. This move doesn't just freeze you. It literally manipulates the matter that constitutes your physical being and turns it into ice. I mean, it just sucks that Gerard is like one of like 5 people that has a way around it. If he had used it in any other fight, against any other person, he would have won. But Gerard, he simply has a way around it, so it kind of sucks that we didn't get to see, him win his fight from using this. But in any case, it is now time for the most broken part of this Bankai. Drumroll, please. So, once something is frozen, it can no longer function or work. Simple, yet beautiful. Barring powers like the Almighty or the Miracle, the Srifts of Yawak and Gerard himself, which can bring the user back from the dead. So, like, the user has already died, the effects would be gone because the user is dead, and then the power brings the user back. So, they are no longer under the effects of the ice, nullifying their power, and they are brought back. Barring anything like that, this is basically unbeatable within Bleach. And it's a damn tough fight for people outside of the verse as well. Say, for instance, if you wanted to see who would win in a fight between Toshiro and S-Death from Akame ga Kill, with both of them being at the peak of their power. So we're giving S-Death her ability to freeze time, we're giving Toshiro adult Toshiro. Now, S-Death is at a statistics disadvantage due to being weaker and a bit slower, but let's treat them as though they are comparable in stats, as I'm sure by some kind of scaling they could be near each other statistically. S-Death is a cold bitch. And she can even freeze time. Like, literally. And that's one of the powers we're giving her here. So, okay. Well, here's a massive wave of ice from Toshiro. Just as a start, they're hundreds of meters apart, and this man just waves his hand. Okay, there's a massive tidal wave, bigger than something you'd see in Geostorm, of ice. Oh, you got caught? Oh, well, it shouldn't be a problem for somebody like S-Death to break out of ice with her own ice control, right? Wrong! She has no powers. Ice control, function suppressed. Time freeze, function suppressed. Physical strength? Actually, yeah, that one should work fine. Unless it's Shikai Hyoketsu, that is. If it's the latter, she just loses. Like, if she gets caught in Shikai Hyoketsu, she just loses. You can't use any of your powers because of the power nullifying abilities of the ice. That's all of his ice. But, AP is still fine. Attack potency, she should still be able to, break her way out with physical strength, right? Well, see, that's the thing. You can't really break out of ice if you are ice. Yeah, the whole matter changing thing, where your physical constitution turns into ice. Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah. I don't even think Frozone can beat him, and Frozone is literally the peak of ice powers in all verses forever. He could beat Azathoth and Yogg-Sothoth by himself with his ice powers. Don't at me. Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and be on the lookout for Byakuya's video, because that one's going to be a real doozy. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you liked the video, want to express your opinions or thoughts on the matter, and or you want to keep up with my upcoming content. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Toshiro.